Eu sou o chefe Marcos Bonfim e nós vamos trabalhar duro para combater esses canalhas, né, senadores, deputados, jornalistas que estão foragidos do Brasil, como Alan Santos, Paulo Figueiredo, esses canalhas que vêm aqui nos Estados Unidos para denegrir a imagem do nosso país, do nosso Brasil, um país democrático, em falar mentiras, falácias e tentando jogar o Brasil para que possa punir o Brasil, os Estados Unidos, para que possa punir o Brasil. Só que eles esquecem de uma coisa: os nossos deputados aqui nos Estados Unidos não são tão otários, ou dizendo melhor, não vou nem dizer melhor, fica por aí mesmo. Se inscreve no canal, nós estamos aí agora numa campanha para chegarmos a 100 mil membros, já estamos com 67 mil, e compartilhe, faça o seu comentário. E quero avisar a vocês, Eduardo Bolsonaro, Paulo Figueiredo, Alan Santos e o resto da quadrilha, eu estarei presente aonde vocês estiverem presente aqui nos Estados Unidos. Vai acabar essa fanfarra, essa palhaçada. Ponto. Vamos lá, gente. Vamos ver aqui o vídeo. Essa deputada Susan, que deu um show, deu um baile de conhecimento sobre o Brasil, desmascarando esses canalhas, esses patifes, antipatriotas, que querem falar mal do Brasil e denegrir a imagem do Brasil aqui nos Estados Unidos. Vamos lá, gente. Preste bem, está legendado.
With all due respect to everyone involved in this hearing, I would like to say at the outset that this is not the hearing on Brazil that I believe we should be having today. The hearing I believe we should be having is one focused on the 200th anniversary this year of the bilateral relationship between the United States and Brazil, the two largest democracies in the Western Hemisphere. The hearing I believe we should be having is one focused on the many areas of cooperation between our two countries, on labor and workers' rights, climate and protecting the Amazon, combating hunger, poverty, and violence, and expanding sustainable and broad-based economic growth, stability, security, and peace throughout the hemisphere. Above all, we should be working to advance our critical partnership with Brazil in a spirit of mutual respect. Unfortunately, the framing of this hearing, which I believe presents a distorted view of Brazilian democracy and provides a platform to those seeking to undermine it, does the opposite of that. Rather than strengthening our relationship, a hearing like this serves only to damage and undermine it. Brazil is a strong and vibrant democracy with a robust civil society and media, a multitude of political parties representing a huge political spectrum, and an electoral system that is rightly considered to be one of the most secure and rapid in the world. Like all democracies, including right here in the United States, there are healthy debates to be had about aspects of the country's institutions. But I want to be clear. Internal politics and debates on constitutional and legal issues should be decided by the Brazilian people, their elected representatives, and Brazil's judiciary. The United States Congress is not the forum for it. We can and should continue to find areas for cooperation and mutual advancement, but we should not and cannot act as if we somehow have a mandate to weigh in on the internal mechanisms of Brazil's institutions. Democracies are different, each informed by their own history. Brazil's 1988 constitution was shaped by a military dictatorship that usurped power through a military coup and brutally ruled the country from 1964 to 1985. Many of the people who lived through these horrific years still remember state-led extrajudicial killings, disappearances, and torture. Brazil's democracy responded by providing courts with the mandate to protect its hard-won democracy and prevent authoritarianism from taking root again. What we will hear today from some witnesses is an attempt to undermine Brazil's judicial process.
O que ela está dizendo,
Former
o que
President
foi apresentado
Bolsonaro's
nessa
conduct in
reunião
office,
foi
his praise
alguns
for the military
querendo
dictatorship, his calls for violence
menosprezar,
against his political opponents, his
desvalorizar o
refusal
nosso
to
sistema
acknowledge his
judicial.
2022 election loss, his attempt to engineer a coup, and his incitement of the January 8th attacks, triggered laws in place designed to serve as a check on executive power resulting from the coup in 1964. Brazilian law enforcement and judiciary have refused to stand by idly in response to the most serious threat to Brazil's democracy since the military dictatorship. They have responded robustly, according to their constitution and their legal system, which again have key differences with ours in the United States. Brazil, like France, Germany, and other Western European countries whose democratic credentials would likely not be questioned by anyone in this room, has a different conception of freedom of speech than we have here in the United States. Brazil's approach to freedom of speech, while broad, includes guardrails informed by this recent history. The title of today's hearing is Brazil, a Crisis of Democracy, Freedom, and Rule of Law. Mr. Chairman, respectfully, I would ask, where was the hearing about Brazilian democracy when we learned about then-President Bolsonaro's efforts to foment a military coup? Where was the hearing after supporters of former President Bolsonaro led a coordinated attempt to overthrow the country's democracy on January 8th, 2023?
Bom, gente, é isso aí, gente. Uma excelente fala dessa deputada aqui americana, mostrando a verdade, mostrando esses canalhas que aqui não tem otário, que houve fake news e não tem um estudo, um conhecimento sobre a nossa nação no Brasil. É lamentável. Alan Santos, Paulo Figueiredo, Girião, a boneca, a chupetinha, a loirinha do Congresso, vocês são os canalhas, vocês são antipatriotas, virem aqui nos Estados Unidos para denegrir a nossa imagem, a nossa democracia. Vocês deveriam ser levados à comissão de ética no Brasil para que vocês sejam expulsos, vocês são os canalhas, patifes. Que Deus possa abençoar o Brasil e se você quer a mudança começa em cada um de nós. Tchau, tchau.